week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
Oh boy, howdy! I'm Magic,
and I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's a pretty good day here. It's mid-September, Mike, and well, don't you know we got some good horse racing at Woodbine today,
That is a terrible accent. That is not even close.
I practiced for 5 minutes before we started.
You should have said you hadn't practiced. I mean, that would have been the better way to go there.
Oh, it's good. How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. A little Great North flavor to this show here, going up to Woodbine, doing a nice little pick four. I've been watching the races there today just to kind of get a little better idea of how the track's playing. And man, is that outer turf course got a long stretch.
Yeah, it's just as long as Belmont's dirt track. People forget about that.
It's pretty crazy, man. I mean, that just thing keeps going and going and going. It's like the Energizer Bunny, man. It just does not stop. You think you have a horse that's going to wire the field, and then you have another furlong to go. It's crazy.
It's a good transition because we come from Kentucky Downs last week.
Yeah.
And that track, you always think the wire is there, and then the camera changes because it's Kentucky Downs, and they don't have a camera that can cover how long their stretch is. So, that camera switches, and then you're like, oh, there's still a furlong. Oh, wait, and then there's the wire. I've never once figured out how that works today. But, hey, I'm excited because we are going to get to do Woodbine. We didn't get to do Woodbine, the Queen's Plate last weekend because it was the Kentucky Downs weekend. But we're back. I'm so excited. I love this. If people have listened to us long enough, they know the one time we did Woodbine last year, I was so excited. Definitely excited. Got the most Canadian thing possible, which is a Curtis Joseph Red Wings jersey. I'm ready to go, man.
Yeah, the Curtis Joseph Toronto Maple Leafs jersey probably would have been a little more Canadian, but I'm not surprised you don't own one of those. So.
Yeah,
no
big deal, my beliefs about the Leafs are not safe for this show, so we'll just leave it at that. To make me real popular with the Toronto crowd here.
Let's just hope that we get past further in this pick four than they do in the playoffs, or else we'll be out in the first leg.
As a Red Wings fan, the playoffs never happened this year. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We're going to be looking at the late pick four sequence at Woodbine on Saturday, September 19th. It's highlighted by the Grade 1 Woodbine Mile, which is Breeders' Cup winning year in for the FanDuel Mile presented by the Permanently Disabled Jockey Fund. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we know it, Mike, what's the best thing you saw this week?
Well, I'm actually going to go to Kentucky Downs for the best thing I saw this week because this is the first time I've ever seen this, and I think you now know what I'm going to say, but this is the first time I've ever seen this in horse racing. There was a race this week, I think it was Tuesday, where they put the wrong winner up in a photo. I had never seen them put the wrong winner up and go so far to not just put that winner up, but then Adred Ortiz goes into the winner's circle and gets his picture taken. And then they come on the loudspeaker with no fans there and say, hold all tickets, don't throw your tickets away. We might have another announcement coming. And then we've got like a good 2-minute wait. And then they put the one up. And then the 8 lodges an inquiry on the 1. So logically, you're like, oh, they're going to take the 1 down here, the 8, so the winner photo stays, everything. And then the 1 stays up. It was like the triple barrel dodge of all the things that could possibly go wrong. It was amazing. It was incredible. I had the 1 in the pick 4, so it was great in that sense. But also, I'm not going to have a false sense of hope every single time a photo goes up. Like I will now, because I'm always like, no, that's wrong. I saw that the other way. That's got to be wrong. I now have an instance where I can point to where I was actually right, that the photo was wrong. So now every time a photo goes up, I'm not going to believe it until they actually make it official, which is, I guess, a bad thing now because I'm going to hold out hope, man.
It set a dangerous precedent. Listen, so this is there's been a whole list of comical things that have happened at Kentucky Downs. And I say comical because my money wasn't on the line when any of these things happened. But let's go through, now that their meet is done, this is the first meet with new ownership group, new people in charge. Let's go through. I made a list yesterday of all the things that I've noticed they did differently this year. A race went off before every horse was in the gate. You remember that one? That was either opening day or the second day. A race was run at the wrong distance.
Yeah, but Naira does that all the time.
Yeah, well, Naira patented that one. They loaded, but I forget which race it was, but they loaded the 8 horse into stall 9 in an 8 horse field, and then the gates all break open, and there's just a gap, and I'm like, what?
And there's a dude standing in the 8-hole too. There's just one guy staring out.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, there go the horses.
What's up?
and then that thing that you talked about. So I messaged CJ Johnson, who's a great handicapper, owns CJ Thoroughbreds with his father. They used to run things in Kentucky Downs. I sent him a message yesterday. And I said, listen, nobody ever notices when things are going right. They just pile on when they're going wrong. So I wanted to let you know, CJ, that your hard work and your family's hard work over the past several years at Kentucky Downs were appreciated, and we miss you.
Well, and you also missed they had 2 horses that got held in the gate as non-starters, so there's a race declared that didn't go. So they had that one too. But all of that being said, it was a wonderful betting meet. If you like to wager on horses, it was a great meet. You had 13, 14 horse fields. You had 14% takeout on both the pick 4 and the pick 5. You had monster numbers. We're talking like 150K early pick 5 to close the day on Wednesday to close the meet. Massive betting pools, and because they get these big purses, it was a lot of fun. You got to see some really good horses, and like I said in our last podcast, I'm going to be looking for a lot of horses coming out of Kentucky Downs, especially going the same distance that we're closing to have a big time kick in the next race. I think if you're on the lead and you kind of faded going 6.5, you're really dangerous going 6 next time. So I'm going to be playing a lot of Kentucky Downs horses. You're going to hear it on this podcast as being one of those angles for the next month or so. So get ready for that, people.
Yeah, it's like you're warning people about what's coming.
It's gone, but it will not be forgotten.
Best thing that I saw, I binge watched the entire second season of Jack Ryan in one day.
There you go. I've done that before. I'm guilty of that one too.
I've patented, and you've worked from home a lot longer than I have, so you probably can speak to this with your horse racing and also managing to handle your top. You don't have an easy job that's outside of horse racing. But I've really gotten good at putting this small laptop off on the side and just putting something on that I don't have to pay too much attention to. And then I have two screens that I can sit here and do all my work. So that's what I did on, I want to say it was Tuesday. It was great. If you like the first season of Jack Ryan, I thought the second season was better. The plot and the villain were a lot less boring. Oh, you did see it. Okay, good. I thought you just meant in general you've done that.
No, I binged it in one day as well. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I did this months ago.
Much better. I know I'm very late to the party on this one, but I finally was like, I need something to watch that I can just put on. I've run through the whole Die Hard series. I've run through the Oceans series of minus Oceans 8. I was like, screw it, I'll put Jack Ryan on. So that was great. The whole Venezuelan thing, so nice. Instead of, hey, here's another Middle Eastern terrorist. Great.
It was a unique plot that you actually, if you do some research, there is some truth behind a bunch of it too. Yeah. So you can learn something about the current world culture as well. And I think it's like you said, it's not just another also ran, right? It's a unique, interesting plot that kind of takes you to somewhere that you don't necessarily go and has some legitimacy to it. So I thought they did a great job with that. I am going to say, I'm surprised that's what you went with when you're working. I usually go comedy. It's hard when you go with those type of movies or those shows because you end up not really working as much because you get pulled into them. And that Jack Ryan season specifically sucked me in a little bit. Yeah, I know. I see. I'm kind of outing you.
Jared doesn't watch.
Jared doesn't listen, so it doesn't really matter.
If Aaron's in the wrong mood and he sees this, then I'm in trouble.
Well, it depends how productive you were on Tuesday. Then it will matter. It won't. So that's really going to come down to be the bottom of it.
Let me check. Oh shit! Actually, I threw away my Tuesday page. I know Tuesday was actually a busy day for me. So. Yeah. Oh well. But hey, like we talked about, we're going to be looking at Woodbine for Saturday's late pick 4 sequence. Reminder: this is a 20-cent denomination, so Mike and I are going to go a little deeper than we usually do with our tickets. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a $200,000 guaranteed pick 4. I expect this thing to probably be at least
that easy.
Yeah, I would say close to double, if not higher than that. So I would say expect a really high, even though it's 20 cents. There is money to be made. So let's get into it, Mike. Riders up. All right, Mike, kicking things off, we're going to look at race 9 on the Saturday card at Woodbine on September 19th. It starts the 20-cent, $200,000 guaranteed pick 4 sequence at Woodbine. This is the grade 1, $1 million Ricoh Woodbine Mile. Remember, at Woodbine, when it's the outer turf course, a mile is 1 turn. Favoritism is on the number 8, War of Will, one of my favorite horses of all time. He's 2-1. You've also got his stablemate, March to the Arch, all the way on the rail. He's at 5-2. If you watch I forget which day it was, but when we did the live stream, Aaron and I both said when they were going into the gate for the King Edward, like, we'll take March to the Arch. Made us look really smart because that was, I think, the best race of his career. I'm not so, God, that 5-2 price is really what kind of scares me on him a little bit, but I'm curious to hear where you're going on top.
Yeah, I mean, March to the Arch is interesting here, 2 for 2 over this Woodbine turf. And I think one of the reasons for that is that this really sets up well for him. We joked on that day, the reason March to the Arch wins or loses is how many times he gets in trouble during a race. Well, it's a lot easier to not get in trouble in the 1-turn Woodbine Mile because you have this long stretch where you can just kind of sit the right trip and then wheel out if you need to around the stretch. And you're able to really get yourself out of those inside closing areas where you kind of get a little tighter, have someone backing up into you. So I think the track sets up really well for March to the Arch. I am going to use March to the Arch. I'm going to play a 40-cent ticket and a $2 ticket. Odd denominations, I know, but when you're dealing with loons, you never know. So we're going to go with the 40-cent. I am going to go too deep. I am going to use March to the Arch. I am going to single in that $2 ticket right off the bat here. I mean, let's just face it. War Will is going to trip out harder than a Canadian Mountie on a bad magic mushroom trip, man. Like, this horse is going to trip out so bad. It is ridiculous. You've got 3 speed horses who are going to want to sit in front of it, and War Will going around this one turn is going to be strong. I mean, you have to think that with tactical speed, War Will is going to be able to sit right behind that pace, get first jump on value proposition versus first jump on March to the Arch. And look, War Will has beaten better than this. That Maker's Mile was a very good win over Raging Bull. There was a lot of highly talented miling horses there. And I think that this one-turn mile will actually suit War Will better than it will 2-turn. You can't forget, we all remember War Will because of the Triple Crown Trail and everything. Warfront's a better dirt sire than turf sire. Let's just go right there and let's make sure. Or, I'm sorry, better turf sire than dirt sire. So let's just go right there and the sun. Yeah, I know. I kind of flipped it around there, but I'm looking for Warfront horses on the turf, and we've had a couple situations because of last year's Triple Crown specifically where people have kind of faded away from that and talked about it. I remember saying this horse was going to be better turf for us when he was a 3-year-old in the early season. So I'm excited to see this horse continue a turf career. I think that War of Will is in a great spot here. I think he trips out like crazy right behind the speed. I don't think Value Proposition or March to the Arch is going to be able to catch him if he gets the lead mid-stretch.
Yeah, he was my top pick here. I don't love the price, 2-1, but when you beat the horses he beat in the Maker's Mark Mile, you're not going to get. He comes to this. This is a step down. I know this is a grade 1 and it's $1 million purse, but Raging Bull. I think we both picked him to win this race last year. At least we had him on our tickets. That was a damn tough race. You also have to like the fact. Look at out of that. That race was in July. Cassie gave him a little bit of time off. This is only his 3rd start of 2020. Cassie's been very careful about how he's handling him in his 4-year-old year. And I think that's a big reason why you saw him get that win. September 5th, look at that 5 furlong word, 59-1 at Churchill. I mean, I know that was on dirt, but I feel like he was really feeling himself right now. So you have to like that. Plus, look back at, his first 2 career starts came at Woodbine. He was a 7 furlong race. He was 3rd in the maiden special weight. Cassie liked him so much, he threw him into the grade 1 summer, which is going to be on Sunday this coming weekend. And he finished 2nd at Fog of War, who at the time we all thought was going to be the next Chad Brown superstar. So he loves Woodbine. He's shown that he's really good here. That last out grade 1 win on turf. I mean, the fact that, he's a dual surface grade 1 winner. Woof. And I'm with you. I think that he's going to trip out. I ended up going 4 deep. I did use March to the Arch. He's the last one I'm using. Big reason is that price, that 5-2. But again, he won the King Edward, which is the local prep for this. So what are you supposed to do? I used the 4 Starship Jubilee. I like the fact that she's picking up Justin Stein, who was, at least when I downloaded the PPs, was the leading rider at Woodbine in terms of wins. And this horse just loves it. She had 4 straight wins to start the year. It was against lesser competition. Then she goes to the grade 1 Diana. She's not good enough to beat Rushing Fall or Me Mary Sister Charlie, but look at those names I just read off. I mean, you put any one of those 3 horses in. Well, I don't know about Sister Charlie, but you put Me Mary or Rushing Fall in this race, you're probably looking at a big, big favorite. So the fact that she ran 4th to them, I'm okay with that. She's won at Woodbine plenty of times, 6 times to be exact. She won the Canadian Stakes last year. She won the EP Taylor Stakes last year. My one concern is the fact that this is just a mile. I don't know that if she tends to like to run longer. So I know she's won at a mile and a 16th, mile and an 8th. This shorter cut back to a mile, it's worrisome. But at some point, Mike, you just have to acknowledge this horse just likes to win. And she was last year's Canadian Horse of the Year. So you can't not pick the Canadian Horse of the Year in the biggest race for older Canadian horses.
Yeah, I'm gonna have 4 horses here. If I put out Sama Bombs, I'd have 4 horses, and I would not have Starship Jubilee on that list.
Wow.
I agree with you on the mile. I think this is too short for her, and it's ironic because Starship Jubilee is 5 for 8 at the mile distance. So she's won 5 times, trying 8 times. But if you look back and when she has won at a mile, she's won at Gulfstream Park at a mile on the lead, a speed favoring track where I don't think she'll get that same trip out here. And she's won when she was younger. She hasn't won a graded race. She won the grade 2 Nassau at a mile here at Woodbine, but she's not won a grade 1 race or faced this level of competition going a mile before. And that to me is the big difference, is that she was facing weaker and she was clearly the best horse. And obviously now she's turned into the best horse, but she was also in the best horse in the best form in those mile races that she ran earlier. So even though she's 5 for 8 for the distance, I don't think this is the distance she necessarily wants to be going against this level of horse. And I think that's the key, is that she was facing weaker when doing that. I don't like the 4-1 price. I think she gets bet down from the 4-1 price. I think she goes off as a second favorite, not March to the Arch. Because look, when you look at that running line, it is ultra impressive. I mean, she's coming out of that Grade 1 Diana. She won the Grade 2 Boston Spa. Those are two massive preps down in Saratoga. You got to think that she's going to get some money here. So I decided to fade her quite heavily. I think value proposition is interesting here. That was kind of my other next in. It was the first off my 40-cent ticket. You got to respect Chad Brown. He ships a horse up here. That one-turn mile, I think, is going to be interesting, coming out of Belmont, especially where they also have that one-turn mile. I think this horse kind of sets up well for it. I think the interesting price horse here is the 3, Shirley Spite. This is a really lightly raced horse out of Spitestown. Took a huge step forward last time. She faced 3-year-olds and up in her maiden breaking score. I think that's relevant. Or he faced whatever. He faced 3-year-olds and up in the maiden breaking score, which I do think is relevant in that spot. And now he's coming in here and getting third off the layoff, third time out. Did well at a mile and a 16th. This is a huge step up in class. But you're going to get value. I mean, look, you're getting every bit of that 8-1 price. I think that floats up on race. I don't see how this horse goes off below 10-1, 15-1. And, maybe it can take the big enough step forward to be able to compete with War of Will and March to the Arch. But I'm only going to end up too deep here on the 40-cent ticket. I'd rather spread in later legs, specifically the 11th, which is ultra tough, and go short here with horses I believe I know.
See, I'm going to disagree with you. I think Shirl Spite goes off as your second choice because
really?
You seem to have forgotten this is the horse that was going to make the Kentucky Derby gate with 0 points until he got a cough. This was the horse that everyone couldn't figure out because he'd never been on dirt. They were going to send him the Kentucky Derby off of that marine effort, and he was training. Woodbine has a dirt training track, and they were putting him through the ropes over that course, and he developed a cough right when they were getting ready to draw entries, and they pulled him out. So I think that is going to get a lot of steam, plus the fact that Kazushi Kamura is going to be here, not on the 5 Olympic runner, where he'd been riding the last 4 starts. Definitely a better horse, I would say, between the two. But I think the fact that you're going to get a lot of public money that might remember that this horse was going to be sent into the Kentucky Derby. Value proposition was the 4th horse I used. You nailed it, that Belmont one-turn mile. When he made his 2020 debut, got the job done. Didn't do so hot in the poker, but was facing better horses. Got stormy, by the way, was in 4th in that race. So don't forget about that. And the 100 buyer, plus, what did I say? I'm not going to pass on Chad Brown and Clairvich Stables anymore. It's just, it burned me one too many times. So I have to use value proposition. Excuse me. The one thing that'll get interesting is that, JD Champagne brought it up in the chat, Admiralty Pier is cross-entered in 2 races on the same day. That he's also in the Sing Spiel, which is a grade 3, a few races earlier on the card. If he scratches out, I think that gives a big pace advantage to Shirl Spite, and I would probably reverse, even though I don't like using a 3-year-old going against the olders at this level. I think I would use Shirl Spite and get rid of March to the Arch, just because I think at that point you might have a runaway leader on the turf course, and War of Will can't pass him if nobody's pressuring Shirl Spite early.
You think so? Man, I looked at this race. I thought you had at least 3 horses that wanted to go. I thought Amethyst Day, Shirl Spite, Starship Jubilee, and Admiralty Pier were all going to go, or at least put some pressure on them. And if you get 3 of those 4 to go, and you have War of Will who's sitting right behind it, then I think that's a really great setup for War of Will. Additionally, if War of Will needs to pressure, I think War of Will can pressure and win. That's the big thing. Like, if you're telling me they're going around the turn and War of Will is sitting at 3/4 of a length behind a 47 pace, and Shirl Spite is the one who's setting it, you don't think War of Will can run that horse down?
I mean, I think he could. If someone pressures Shirl Spite, the way I saw it plot out, I just thought it was going to be a 2-horse race really for the front end. But yeah, I mean, War of Will is also getting Rafi Hernandez to ride for the first time instead of March to the Arch, who we just won on. Rafi Hernandez is the meet's leading rider in terms of money earned. So there's a lot to love about him. I mean, here's the reason you're singling him in your $2 ticket why he was my top choice here.
Yeah, I mean, I would, man, if you think, it'll be interesting to see how this race gets bet. If Starship Jubilee takes money like I expect, if Shirl Spite takes money like you expect, if War of Will gets anywhere 5-2 or 3-1, I'll get Thor's hammer out and just start plugging away on that thing. Like that's a great price if War of Will floats up, because I think that is your most proven horse in this field. And as my pick suggests, I think we're going to see a cast exact with War of Will and March to the Arch.
Wouldn't surprise me. We'll move on to the second leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Woodbine on Saturday, September 19th. Race 10 on the card. You've got the $135,000 Woodbine Care Stakes, field of 7 juveniles. a juvenile filly, going 5 furlongs on the inner turf course, which means very, very tight turns. Favoritism is on the number 7, Illegal Smile at 8-5. Fun fact, Illegal Smile is still a maiden, yet is the big favorite here. A couple of maidens in here. I'm definitely using both of them. Where are you going on top?
I'm just using 2 horses, and they're both maidens. Go figure. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Illegal Smile is my. I'm going to use Illegal Smile on top. It's a logical 8-5 favorite here. Wesley Ward shipping this horse in is definitely something you want to pay attention to. This is the inner turf going 5 furlongs as well. At first, I thought it was on the dirt because it was in the inner, but it's the inner, so it's all the way on the inside. So we're going 5 furlongs on the turf here. And look, there's a ton of speed, but the speed of the speed probably is the 7 Legal Smile. The 7 also is coming out of what I believe are the best races. I really like that race at the Belmont maiden breaking score, or when he ran second at Belmont to Aldo, and then ran back and lost to Aldo again. But Aldo would be a heavy favorite in this race. I mean, that's yes. What I think you have to look at is, yes, that horse hasn't broken its maiden yet, but it's lost to the same horse twice. That same horse is dominant. So I'm not going to really take anything away from Legal Smile or say that the horse is hanging or it doesn't want to get it done. It's getting beat by a horse that would clearly be the favorite in this field. And so because of that, I'm going to say that Illegal Smile should be the favorite in this field as well. I am going to go too deep, and I'm going to use the 4 horse here. I'm going to use Chalette, who also is a maiden. We talk a lot about Into Mischief, but man, this is one of those horses where I think Into Mischief, second time out, specifically for this barn, is going to take a nice big step forward. The 60 buyer is the second highest buyer outside of Illegal Smile in the field. And this is second start. We talk all the time about how the second start is often where you see the biggest improvement. And I think Chalette has a big time to take a huge step forward here. Again, we get Kamara on board, and Delacour, who's a nice combination up there. And second maiden start for Delacour is 30% and 47 outings. So clearly something that he does well. I like the fact that we're being aggressive with this horse, and we are putting this horse right into a stakes race. 90% turf sprints. Everything kind of lines up here that I think the 4 horse has a big chance at improving. Someone's going to have to take a big step up to beat the 7 Legal Smile. I think the 4 is the most logical. And I'm only going to go too deep so I can spread later in the ticket.
I use both of them. Like I said, Illegal Smile, by the way, you talk about Alda. I think she's going to be the favorite in the Natalma Stakes, which is a Grade 1 Breeders' Cup winning urine for the Juvenile Fillies turf on Sunday at Woodbine. So fully with you, that the fact that Alda was beat this horse twice and making Illegal Smile still maiden, I don't care. If Wesley Ward didn't think this horse was going to be a stakes winner, he wouldn't have entered her as a maiden to catch a glimpse, and she didn't embarrass herself. What was really great is that there's a lot of speed in this race, Mike. At least on paper, it looks like there's going to be a lot of horses that like to be out front early. You tend to see that a lot with juveniles. This horse was fighting hard with horses every step of the way around the turn, dispatched of them. Alda and Dreaming of Drew came from off the pace. Alda was actually last. They passed everybody late in the stretch. That was 6.5 furlongs. Now we're cutting way back to 5 furlongs on the inner turf. So I think the fact that this horse is eyeballed horses on the inside and been able to repel them, I'm not going to knock her at all for drifting a little bit there. My top pick, though, is going to be the 6, Rocket Reload. I like both the maidens, but I went and watched the replays, and I was the most impressed with Rocket Reload's maiden win. It came over this inner turf course. You know about a filly that was getting eyeballed and pressured. She was very heavily pressured, and then off the turn, she just said, "K, F, and see ya," and took off. Never once touched with the whip. She only gets a 60 buyer for it, but if Justin Stein, who's leading in wins at this meet, decided he wanted to hit her and win by more, he could have done that. He saved her. He wrapped her up. She was galloping when she came across. And also, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 8th place finishers from that race all came back to win. So it's a very key race as far as maidens go. Also, Reload is the leading freshman sire in Ontario right now. So you've got that going for her as well. And the fact that Mike DiPaolo was a 15% trainer at the meet, debuted her in a stakes, and had Rafi Hernandez, who, like I said, is the leading meet money earner aboard in that first start. I love this horse. Rocket Reload to me is my top pick.
I can't argue with you. I mean, you make some great points on Rocket Reload specifically. I mean, you didn't even mention the 2 bullet work, 2 out in 46 seconds. This might be your speed of the speed. It's going to be interesting to see how this early pace sets up. I mean, one of these things when you see these races with younger horses, specifically 2-year-olds, especially turf sprinters, all of them have speed, all of them have pace, and so a lot of times it's who can get the right trip, and if anyone can actually close and come from off the pace, that makes a huge difference here because you're going to have a 21 and change, 44 and change first quarter and first half mile. And it's tough to hold on if you're going that fast out front. Now, luckily, they're going 5.5, so you got some burners here that can probably just kind of use the last of that NOS tank and get to the wire. But it's going to be interesting to see who can actually hold up the speed. Now, Illegal Smile went 21 and 4. You've seen Rocket Reload do that twice. The 44 and 4 last time out after going 21 and 4 is pretty impressive. But Illegal Smile on the outside went 44 and 3. So she's not going to. they're going to fly, man. And a lot of it's going to be do 4 jockeys really want to go? And if they do, then you could throw a dart. I mean, this is one of those races where you could almost say, hey, hit the all button and see what happens if you think the pace is going to shape up like that. Because 43 and change for 2-year-olds is just a guaranteed collapse no matter what the distance. And it's possible here. I'm going to stop after 2. I had the 5 as my next pick. I like the fact that this horse was able to close going 5 furlongs, 2 back to start out. It's going to be the first try on the turf for the Sun Munnings. But look, I like Mark Casse when we're playing Woodbine. I like Patrick Husbands when we're playing Woodbine. 2 of them are 17 and 15% respectively, but 20% when they team up. So I like that fact too. Munnings horses can do it either on turf or dirt. So I think that's a big angle there. And I love that 34 flat gate workout 2 back. I think this horse has all the speeds it needs and is able to come from off the pace. So kind of my collapse horse was the 5, but I'm going to only go with the 4 and the 7 in both the $2 and the 40-cent tickets.
You and I looked at this race similarly in that I was initially, when I looked through this, I said, there's so many damn horses that want speed and all horses that I like. Who's going to come from off the pace? And I couldn't really make a strong case for anyone because I thought that the way that the 4, the 6, and the 7 ran is that they would still be able to keep going if they were headed, especially the 6 and the 7. I did look at the 5 a lot. I don't like that price. 2-1 is hard, but Munnings is nearly 13% with Grass Offspring. Her Dam Mylita won on turf as well. It's a quick 13-day turnaround, but Mark Casse, usually if trainers do that, I'm like, why are they coming back so fast? When Mark Casse does it, I've learned that's usually a sign that he's feeling really good about this horse's chances. But the big reason I didn't use is because if she's going to win, she's going to need to duplicate, I think, that effort from her maiden effort, or her debut, when she came from way off the pace and just missed by a head. But she missed to Dirty Dangle, who I didn't have any interest in using here. That's the 2 horse. I don't know if I really... I think that was that and the price were the deciding factors for me keeping the 5 off. But if you're listening, you're watching this and you like that horse, you could do a lot worse in this field.
Yeah, I actually handicapped without the morning lines, which was interesting. So this is the first time I'm actually seeing what the prices on these horses are, which I actually like to do. It's one of those things I think actually makes you a better handicapper because you find long shots. Often the morning line kind of subconsciously directs you to horses that you wouldn't necessarily play or give as much credit. So I like handicapping without it. I'm kind of surprised this horse is 2-1. I thought I'd be getting a bigger price. I think that might be a connections thing. I think that you might see the 2-1 because of Casse and Husbands. Again, this is another one. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. But with the pick 4, you can look at those daily doubles will pays and see, okay, what's the probable daily double pays? Who's actually going to be the favorite in this race? And I think we can assume the 7 will be the favorite, but who will be the second choice? Is it going to be the 6? Is it going to be the 5? Is it going to be the 4? And that can kind of dictate how you play your tickets moving forward.
We'll move on to the third leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Woodbine on Saturday, September 19th. Race 11 on the card. You've got a field of 12 maiden, see if I can get this right, 12 maiden juvenile Ontario breds who have gone through a public auction ring at some point in their life. Didn't have to be purchased. They had to at one point go through an auction ring. 6.5 furlongs on the outer turf course. Favoritism is on the number 6, Saturday George at 3-1. I almost didn't use him at all, and I almost put a 20-1 on top. This is when I go nuts. You and I are both spreading these last 2 legs. Tell me who's your top pick.
You crazy, man. You're crazier than Robin Sparkles. So top pick, I went all the way to the outside. I went with the 12 horse Lucky Score. I'm a sucker for looking at Luckies on the turf, man. I don't think they get enough credit. Looking at Luckies, I believe, are about 12% first time out on the turf. I can pull up my DRF formulator stats here. But it was surprising to me. So first off, looking at Luck with 2-year-old starters, 12% in the winner's circle first time out, 10% turf sprinting, but 13% turf routing. Turf sprinting, I don't necessarily consider 6.5 turf sprinting. I think that's kind of, when you actually average distance of turf sprinting, especially first time out, you're looking at 5 or 5.5. I think looking at Lucky going 6.5 is a little bit better. There's a lot of good sires here for first time out, but looking at Lucky to me stands out. I like the fact that we get Contreras up 46 flat or 46-3 breezing on the turf last time out was ultra impressive. You got the bullet workouts 2 times before that, and Belmont is 17% first time out on turf. So I've got a bunch of stats that tell me this 12 is going to fire early. I like looking at Lucky. I like the jockey, so I'm going to go with the 12 on top. And I don't know what a 6-1 price. That's not so bad either. So I like that 6-1 price too. Second choice, and the other must use for me, and the other horse I'm going to use on my $2 ticket is the 5 horse Gizmo Rogers. Giant Gizmo, don't know much about the sires. I did a little digging. About 10% first time out, about 10% first time out on turf as well. But Giant's Causeway, son of Giant's Causeway. Look, Giant's Causeway throws some pretty good turf horses out there. It's one of those angles I like to use. I like the 6.5 furlong distance as well for Giant's Causeway sons. So this second son of Giant's Causeway, hopefully hopefully helps me out there. So I'm going to end up using the 12 and the 5 here as my must-use horses. I also like the workouts. I do respect the barn first time out as well. So again, I'm looking at the same things. It's funny. We had a question specifically about how you handicap 2-year-old races last time on the show. This is how I handicap 2-year-old races. I look at the sires. I'm looking at the workouts. I'm looking at the jockey-trainer combinations. How good is the jockey or the trainer first-time starters? I also think it's interesting to look at turf sprints here. So, for instance, the 5 horses trainers, only small sample size, 5 turf sprints, but has won one of those with a $3.32 ROI. So, good at what they're doing here. Good at first time out. I'll take a shot with the 5 as my other must use.
0 for 2. I used 4 horses and you haven't named any of them yet.
Well, I got 3 more, so we got a chance.
We got a chance. Yeah, it'll tighten up a little bit here with a couple of them. My top pick is going to be the 10 Valhalla Airbase, so I know you didn't even use. But I like the
I'm
fact
glad you're using this horse. I was going to talk about this even though I didn't use it.
All right, cool. So you've got Rafi Hernandez, meets leading money earner. You got Gary Barber. Love where he places his horses as an owner. Mark Cassie, first-time starter, 15%, also on first-time turf. It's Air Force Blue. Air Force Blue has turned out to be a pretty damn good early win sire and is a son of Warfront, so you know that the turf should be no issue here. I love the fact that the Hernandez and Cassie are 24% together with a really nice ROI. And I mean, you talk about like connections where the last race where it was Cassie and husband, like, well, it's probably 2-1 based on that. These are very strong connections at Woodbine, and yet the fact that they have a 252 ROI in the last 2 years together at Woodbine, it tells me something pretty big here. So I love the 10 Valhalla Airbase. Before I move on, you said you wanted to talk about this horse. Why didn't you use him?
Yeah, so you're right. Air Force Blue is one of those horses that I was actually really high on coming in as a first out sire. It hasn't turned out so well for Air Force Blue. 3 for 28 overall with 2-year-olds, 2 for 17 first-time stars with 2-year-olds. But what was shocking to me, 0 for 11 on the turf.
On the turf, yeah.
Only one turf horse has hit the board with Air Force Blue, who is a very good turf sprinter. So I was expecting Air Force Blue to be pumping out turf sprinters, and that just hasn't happened. The only winners for Air Force Blue have been on the dirt. And so because of that, look, I agree with you. The connections here are daunting, and that's really the reason. I mean, Barber, Cassie, it's tough to say, okay, I'm going to chuck this horse. I think this horse will get wildly overbet. I think that because of what we've seen from Air Force Blue in a small sample size, I want to spread and try and beat it. And so I'm going to go ahead and spread and try and beat this horse because of what we've seen from the sons and daughters of Air Force Blue, specifically on the turf here with his first class.
He is, yeah. How many wins did you say he's had? What was that?
He's 3 for 28, 2 for 17 with first time starters.
Gotcha. So 2 of those 3 wins are from the same horse, Weston, who's wait, no, that's Hit It a Bomb. Never mind. I'm thinking of a different horse. Never mind. I was like, wow, that's really bad that's what happens. Listen, you've used an argument before against me where you say, yeah, okay, that was the case, but it's a small sample size. What are the trainers? Blah, 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 all sorts of things. The fact that this is a son of Warfront that I think is going to be able to have a grandson of Warfront, that I think is going to be able to debut very well for these connections. I'm a little worried about the work pattern, but because it's Mark Cassie, I'm willing to say, all right, just because there isn't a huge foundation on paper, I'm going to trust that he knows what the hell he's doing with this horse.
So can I scare you a little bit more?
I mean, you didn't scare me at all, but you can try.
The 3 winners, one at Indiana Grand running a 33 buyer, one at Gulfstream Park going 4.5 furlongs in a maiden special weight where there was no buyers because they were too young, and one at Saratoga, so that's a nice one, in a state bred race with a 46 buyer. So the high winning buyer from Air Force Blue so far is 46. At
Saratoga, which is a very fantastic beat and a great place to get your wins.
There you go. Next horse up for me was the 6. Look, Saturday George, we got a race full of first-time starters. I'm going to take the horse I know is going to show speed. I have seen a bunch of good workouts from these other horses. I'd be surprised, to be honest. Saturday George is in the lead, but I know that he's going to break. I know that you're going to see some early speed from him. So I'm going to use Saturday George as my next up. I am going to use him on the 40-cent ticket, but I'm only going with the 5 and the 12 and the $2 ticket. And then I'm going to use the 9 and the 7. These are 2 horses that I like from a early pedigree standpoint. Justin Phillip is a good win early sire, specifically on the turf. You get Patrick Husbands aboard, 11% first time out for the trainers, which isn't great. But when they team up, you're looking at 20% between Bennett and Husbands. So we're seeing both those percentages improve when they get together. And then the 9 free shopping. Temple City is another sneaky good turf sire for me. Going longer usually, but again, this is a 6.5 turf sprint. It's not that 5 or 5.5 that you often see at Del Mar and Saratoga and Santa Anita. So I'm not going to judge as heavily there from that perspective. Only an 8% first out for, oh, Jesus, William Theranonis. I have no idea.
Let's just call him William Thanos.
Yeah, William T. My boy William T. There. Billy T. is 8% first time out, but he's got a $2.43 ROI. Again, we're picking up a jockey where William is 16% first time out. Wilson's 14%, or 16% overall. Wilson's 14% overall. Jockey and trainer get together, they're close to 30%. So every single horse that's live in this barn is going to this jockey. We got a trainer or a sire that wins good first out, specifically going on the turf. I like that combination. I think this is another one you got to pay attention to. And I like that 10-1 price. I think that's something you got to like too.
So I use the 6 and the 7. The 6, because this is a restricted race to horses that went through a public ring. This is the horse that actually cost the most of anyone in the field. It cost $95,000. Is out of a Daughter of Warfront, so you're going to be getting, again, some turf influence there. DePaulo's 15%, but he's not great with maidens, with juveniles. So that scares me. Also, the fact that he and Moran are 5% from 77 starts together. I'm like, that's for a barn that's 15%. Sometimes that tells me that the jockey, that this specific jockey, maybe he's getting like the B level. Like this could be the Velez's when Drayden Van Dyke is riding for Bob Baffert. Somebody's got to ride the other one. We'll give it to Velez. But the fact that this horse has done well with the workouts, was showing good speed in that debut race, I'm going to take a shot. I use the 7. Justin Time Goes North. You talked about Justin Phillip. He's 14% with turf sprinters just overall. So I think that's a great number for him. But plus the workout pattern underneath, that's a really good, strong foundation. Here's the horse that I almost put on top at 20-1. The number 2. You want to take a shot at pronouncing the number 2's name?
Drisky.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Drisky.
So he's third on debut, but in a race that they wanted to put on turf, got rained off and put on the synthetic main track. Ran pretty well, ran third. Then went to the Simcoe Stakes off of that as a maiden, didn't embarrass himself. By the way, that debut the winner was Gretzky the Great. Gretzky the Great's going to be one of the favorites in the Summer Stakes on Sunday, which is a Breeders' Cup winner in for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Yeah, that one. That's the one for the boys. So great horse to have lost to on debut. And then he goes on to the synthetic, doesn't do well. Now he's actually going to be on turf, which is what they wanted initially. The barn, only 12 starters this year, all at Woodbine, 3 wins and a third. So the barn is doing really well at Woodbine from a limited sample size. I just like the fact that all of those those 2 races, the maiden special weight was a non-restricted, and then the Simcoe was restricted to Ontario breds. Now you're really reducing who this horse is going to be facing in terms of it has to be Ontario bred and went through a public sales ring, so you don't get any of those really well-bred homebred horses in here. So I think at 20-1, this isn't a jockey I normally like to bet, but I think this barn is really sneaky, and I think getting on turf is going to really help this horse improve.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't make any argument there. Like you said, the barn being 3 for 12 is a telling sign that they're placing their horse as well. The 3 furlong blowout right before it. You talk about the jockey in Holland. I mean, the 2 combined for 2 of their 3 wins here. So when Carlos Grant puts Holland on the horse, that's where 2 of those 12 wins have come, or 2 of those 3 wins and 12 starts have come from, and that's only an 8 try. So you got to think that Holland's getting all the live mounts from this specific barn. So I can't argue with you at 20-1. I'm expecting one of these first-time stars to fire. I mean, that's really kind of how I built this ticket. I think that the 6 horse is going to show early speed, and then I want to try and find the first-timer that's going to be big, because I don't love anything I saw from the others. I do think you make a good point. I like the fact that we started out in the open 108, and then we come down to a restricted 250K stakes race. I mean, that's a lot more class, if you can even say that, for a 2-year-old race than anyone else has faced here. So you do have a quote-unquote class advantage, and this is definitely a drop for the 2, where everyone else is either staying at the same level or kind of just starting up their career.
We'll move on to the 4th and final leg off of that note, Mike, because I think it's going to make a little bit of sense here in terms of horses in their restrictions. Race 12, the final leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Woodbine on Saturday, September 19th. You've got a field of 11 males, 3 and up. This is basically a non-winners of 2 lifetime allowance race with an optional $40,000 tag attached. So if you wanted, you could put a horse in for $40,000. And on that note, if any horse is in for a claiming tag, I am definitely avoiding the horse in here. And I think there's 4 of them. So we'll get into that in a second. Favoritism is on the number 7, Speedy Moonlight, at 3-1. But I think this is the most wide open race in the entire sequence here that we have. Where are you going on top?
Yeah, I mean, I actually would disagree with you there. I think this is one of the more formful races. I ended up with the two favorites here. I thought that the 7 Speedy made a ton of sense. It's a horse that's going to show plenty of speed. It's coming out of a restricted stakes race last time out. Was able to, it was coming out of an original race where it ran at 76 Beyer, going 5.5 furlongs, and it did well in that first race. Came back, won its next start with Stein up. Glenn went up to the restricted stakes race there and was able to kind of stalk 3 wide and just give it up a little bit. I'm not as concerned about that, especially since it was going 7 furlongs. I think that was the main issue there. I mean, facing 7, going 7 against better really isn't what this horse wanted to do. So cutting back to 6 and getting into a more realistic position, I think is going to really help out Speedy Mandate. I used him as the second horse here. The horse I used on top was the 5-4 in the River. I really like this horse. Look, this horse did well at 7 furlongs closing into it. The horse has tactical speed, has been competitive and won at 5 furlongs over the synthetic, was competitive at 5.5. I like the fact that we have these different distances that this horse can really run well in. I mentioned that maiden race where Speedy Moonlight ran second. Ben the River was actually the $1.65 favorite in that race. Ended up running 4th, getting beaten by 2 in here, but was heavily bet in that race, and has since kind of started to step back up toward that 80 that it ran before it was claimed out of the Michelle Love barn. So I think this horse has a ton of talent. I like that it's coming into form. I think the 6 furlongs is going to be a very good distance for this horse, and I think this horse is going to be able to stalk behind the early pace and be able to pounce. So add all that up and tell me I get Patrick Husbands. I think this is a good place to land. So I'm going to end up going with the 5 and the 7 here.
I used the 5 and the 7 on my tickets. The 5 was my second choice, so I agree with you there. I like the fact that Patrick Husbands is ridden this horse for 2 different barns now. The whole thing with Michelle Love was kind of weird. That was her one starter for the entire year, so I'm not really sure what happened there. Yeah, but he rode this horse in 2019. He rode for that barn, and then rode last time out. Is going to be back aboard. I think the cutback in distance will help. Especially because this horse likes to come up from off the pace, so that'll be great for him. When you're going 6 furlongs on the synthetic and you have a lot of these horses that are going 5.5, it's almost like when you're doing a 7 furlong race on dirt where you're looking for where those horses that are 6, 5.5 that are going to start fading, especially with such a long stretch that they have at Woodbine that you mentioned at the top of the show. Top pick for me, I'm going all the way down to the 11 Executive Search. I love this horse. I'm getting 6-1. Justin Stein, yet again, is the leading rider in terms of wins.
Loving this horse, Justin Stein.
I do. This is my Jake Olisiak of Woodbine right here. This is the walker for me. Yeah. So Justin Stein is the leading wins. This horse has technically won twice in his career. Like he got disqualified to play second the first time it happened, but then it came right back and he did it again. I think this horse has got a lot of potential. That was a 6.5. Now we're cutting back to 6. So I think the fact that this horse likes to be on the lead going slightly longer is going to be well within his wheelhouse. I also like the fact that Justin Stein is riding this horse for the first time instead of being on the favorite Speedy Moonlight. Why would he do that? Why would he jump off for a barn that he's only ridden for 4 times in the last 2 years, unless he thought this horse had a hell of a lot of potential? It doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't blame Justin Stein for the fact that that Speedy Moonlight didn't do well in that stakes race, because won and got a second in the start before that. So that to me was a big tip off that Executive Search at 6-1. Now getting back onto PETA. The buyers don't say this is the best horse in the race, but I think Justin Stein thinks this is the best horse in the race.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not going to try and read the jockey moves too much here, just because I don't know the Woodbine circuit well enough and the trainer jockey combos. And only 4 mounts for this barn, as you said, but a 23% barn. I'm interested to see how they convinced him to end up on this horse, or if it was an option, if he had the option to pick between the two. I do think Executive Search is dangerous. I'm really concerned about the 11 post here, which is ironic because this is we've talked about this track a couple times, of how big of this turn is, but there's a lot of speed in here. And that 11 post could end up 4, 5, 6 wide around that turn if you don't play your cards right. And I'm not sure this horse can stalk. I think this horse has to be on or near the lead. It's kind of it's a one-paced horse. It just wants to go, and it's going to go until it runs out of gas. And I'm concerned that it's going to end up pretty wide if it tries to take that specific route. I do like the horse right to the inside. It just broke its maiden going 5.5, checkerboard floor. The 10 horse here. Look, this horse ran really well last time out, an open 111K maiden special weight, one of the tougher levels that anyone broke their maiden at in this entire race. We have a 2% jockey which is a concern, obviously. The only race that this jockey's won was on this horse, but it's for a 19% barn, which is awfully interesting to me. You don't often see that low of a percentage jockey with that many starts on that high of a percentage barn unless they believe the rider fits the horse well. So I'm going to go ahead and hope that I'm not going to the funeral here after missing the wedding and play Checkerboard Floor, who's a horse I think that maybe will take them wire to wire at 9-2. And the last horse on my ticket's right to the inside, the Last American Exit. 12-1 on this 9-horse, same barn, which is one of the main reasons that I'm playing it here. It was the favorite last time out against Bend the River, the 5-horse, who I really like at 2-1. And this horse got bumped to start and just kind of couldn't come up with a bid. I like the change from Savachi over to Fukumoto, who I think is a nice little jockey upgrade. Also 16% combination between trainer and barn. Look, if this horse is able to fire back to its maiden special weight win at 100 when it was at 113K, this horse may be the best horse in the field. We're getting 12-1 on it. So I am going to end up 4 deep on the 40-cent ticket, 2 deep on the $2 ticket. But I do think the 9 and the 10 have a legit shot at making some noise at some numbers.
Didn't use the 10 exactly, and I literally wrote wedding/funeral in all red.
So. I realize, but I'm using the 9, and if you're using the 9 and you're not using the 10, that to me is one of those faux pas where if your trainer has 2 and you like one of them enough to use it, I kind of feel like you have to use the other one, especially in 20-cent base ticket.
Yeah, normally I'd agree with you. I'm going to disagree with you here on that one. But it's also because Isabel Wank has won once the entire year, and it was on this horse in the maiden effort. So, you talk about 2%. She's 1 for 52 on the year.
She got 7 places, 5 shows, a little racing luck. We could have 2 of them.
I did use the 9 Last American Exit from the same barn. I love the fact that I love that this horse has got that maiden special weight win going 6 furlongs on the synthetic course, this exact condition here. And like I agree with you, I think Fukumoto is a big upgrade from Savachi. I used Bend in the River. Yeah, those are the 4 I used. I went 5, 7, 9, 11 here. I don't think there were any horses really that I was worried about outside of those. The 7 was a defensive use just because I don't like the price, but I don't know. This could get really interesting. I'm surprised that you're not going with the 11 executive search.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read as much into the Stein angle as you did, and like I said, I think that the post position is going to be tough here, going 6 furlongs. I think the horse wants to get the lead, and if the horse can't get the lead, it's going to have to sit 4 wide in a speed duel. And the last thing you want from a sprinter in a more challenging distance is to be sitting 4 wide in a speed duel. I mean, to me, it's just a recipe for disaster. So it's all going to be about the break and how many horses end up going here. The fact that Checkerboard Floor is another speed horse, I think, means that executive search will not be able to clear. I think Checkerboard Floor is a serious problem for her just because she's right there. So it'll be interesting to see how those 2 play out specifically on the break and who gets the inside speed lane, because it's probably not going to be either of those horses. I'm guessing it's going to be 1 or 2 of the inside horses that actually get the rail going around that first turn.
And you could see a setup here because we had the 2 Tiller horses, the 9 and the 10, like you talked about, also same breeder and same owner. The 10 could be in here to make sure there's an honest pace and set up really well for the 9. And if we're getting 12-1, I mean, You and I are both using the 9. Shit, let's get home at 12-1 to end this thing. Could be a lot worse than that.
Yeah, I won't complain. If we get 12-1 and get that 9. I don't think we're gonna get 12-1. I'm in a tournament where it's all optional, and the 9 was actually one of the horses I pegged as a possible optional play in the 30 races, because if you get that 12-1, I do think this is a good number on a horse. It's a logical winner based on the trip and the setup and the talent that the horse has.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Mike and I'll go through and give out our tickets one last time in case you missed it. If you're watching live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, or if you're watching the replay, thanks so much for joining us. If you look right down at the bottom there, those are the tickets. I'll go ahead and give mine out. Remember, this is a 20-cent base, especially for mine. Michael to let you know what his are, but I'll start. I'm going 1, 4, 7, 8 with 4, 6, 7 with 2, 6, 7, 10. With 5, 7, 9, 11, that is a $38.40 ticket. God, I love Woodbine. 40 cents as it to end that out. Go ahead and give us your tickets, starting with your 40 center.
Yeah, before I do, shout out to Woodbine for the 20-cent base. Like, a lot of people ask, where's a good way to learn to play these multi-race tickets? I would highly suggest Woodbine. If you're looking for a track that you don't really have a home track, I mean, the 20-cent base makes it a lot more playable. It's a lot cheaper to learn. You can play 20-cent pick 5s, 20-cent pick 4s, 20-cent pick 3s. So, give some Woodbine some credit here and some love, because they do put together some pretty nice-sized pools, and you can play with low denominations, and you can really learn to hone the craft if it's a track, or if you're getting into it, you want to find a circuit. I think it's a worthwhile one to check out. That being said, I'm going to play a 40-cent ticket on the pick 4. I'm going to go with 1-8 with 4-7 with 5, 6, 7, 9, 12 with 5, 7, 9, 10 for 40 cents. That's going to cost you $32. Then I'm going to play a $2 ticket to kind of press my opinions here. I'm going to single War of Will in that first leg. So I'll go 8 with 4-7 with 5-12 with 5-7 for $2. That's a $16 ticket. So $48 total for me. So it's a cheaper weekend. Especially after we hit last weekend too. That was burying the lead again. We got a streak going. We got to hit the next one to start heating up, and then we got to get the NBA Jam references in here.
Well, okay. So correct me if this is wrong. I'm not going to count the Kentucky Derby because we didn't do that for that. But I hit back-to-back weekends.
Oh wow!
And then the Derby, and then you hit last weekend.
Yeah.
So can you repeat here? Can we both hit? I know. See,
Yeah.
it counts. You just have to worm your way into it a little bit.
There you go. Yeah. As a combined human being, we're on fire. As a podcast. There you go.
Exactly. The show gives it out. That's all that matters. Coming up in just about half an hour, if you're watching live, Blinkers Off will be live here. I know they're going to be talking about Woodbine as well. So hopefully Jared watched, because I don't think he knows what the hell goes on up north of the border there. But they'll be covering that. They'll also be looking at some other big races around the country. And then over at racingnews.com, I have the preview for the Ricoh Woodbine Mile up right now. Then the Thomas Stakes and Summer Stakes previews should be up by the end of the night. If they're not, I'm in a lot of trouble, so I'll make sure I get to work on that as soon as we get out of here. Mike, the bombs are in a little bit of a flux because we got Belmont coming back, Churchill coming back. We don't have California. Where are you looking to focus this weekend?
So we got Belmont opening day tomorrow. Already got that done, locked and loaded. I plan to be at Belmont on Saturday and Sunday, depending on the field sizes. I have not looked at Sunday's card, to be completely honest. Woodbine, the purses or the pool sizes aren't necessarily big enough. So like when you're guaranteeing the 200K, we're looking for maybe 500K and up for the Sama Bomb. So it may be a Belmont all weekend, but we'll see. I mean, it really depends on Friday's action and then what the fields look like on Saturday. So Belmont Friday for sure, and then we'll figure out where we're going. We'll have one Saturday, one Sunday. We had $25 grids, which are free to subscribers on Tuesday and Wednesday. I think we're going to try and do at least one grid a week now because people really seem to love the grids in the midweek and kind of getting involved. So we'll try and keep running that back, be it at it's unfortunately Canterbury Park is closing, but I got to say Sam Houston may be a popular one here if we can get that going on a Wednesday or Thursday night. So excited to get some of these tracks back. I wouldn't be shocked if we go to Remington once or twice. Their pick 4s are awfully fun to play too. So keep an eye out for those. And yeah, Belmont for sure on Friday. And we're still figuring out for the rest of the weekend.
Real quick, Mike, because I know this question comes up once in a while. Just explain to the folks who are listening or watching why you only do a grid option during the middle of the week as opposed to weekend when you have the grid or the grid tickets option.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest concern is that we don't want to overwhelm a pool with the same number of exact tickets going into a too small a pool. So let's say 20 people bet it and you have a 200K pool. That means the max payout's 10 grand right there. And to get that means that we're scooping the pool as a group. If you have a group scooping the pool, it's first off completely unlogical. You're probably going to have at least 20 more tickets, and then you're going to have each of those pay $5,000 instead of what they should pay, which was like 45. So if you have too small of a pool, you end up really devaluing the overall tickets. And if you devalue the overall tickets, then you don't even want to buy my product because at that point, it's literally a bad bet for all of us. So that's one of the reasons why it's the price point it is too. That if you have it at a $5 price point and you have 500 people playing the same ticket, it's not worth paying for the ticket. That's the whole point of why it's set up there. So we'll do grids on those weekdays where the pools aren't quite as big, so that you're able to still cash and you're able to use for pick 4s, pick 3s, pick 5s, whatever you want to specifically use. But we're done with literally 40, 50 identical tickets going into the pool because that's when it starts to value the overall product and the ticket. And the last thing I want to do is put a product out there that isn't worth what you're paying for it.
Good luck when you're playing this weekend. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kellord. He's at SummerBomb18, number 8 corporate overlords at Racing_Dudes. Once again, Blinkers Off will be on in just about a half hour. So go take a bathroom break, get a snack, crack open a fresh beer or a White Claw, and tune in for the Blinkers Off guys. We will see you on Monday with our recap show. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike. Go Browns.
We'll see you next time.
And
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.